On the next episode of Guiding Grace Bookkeeping, God's silence does not equal his absence. And when we understand who God is, then we're able to trust in him, even when we're not getting a knock on the door or a dream or a prophetic word. We have to have faith in God's character that he will be there for us. God has a purpose, and he uses people that he prepares to fulfill it. Hey there, family. Gabrielle here, daughter of the Almighty, mom to two amazing kids, and a Yorkie named Luna. Also, I'm a fellow Christian business owner. If you're ready to say yes to financial clarity and exchange chaos for calm, you're in the right place. We're diving deep into strong faith, practical stewardship, and savvy bookkeeping. All right, family, grab your coffee and your notebook. Let's talk about God, business, and getting those books in order. Welcome back to another episode of Guiding Grace Bookkeeping. So today's episode, we're going to talk about trusting God when he is silent. We're going to use the Book of Esther today in today's pillow talk, so to speak. Okay. So basically, this is going to be about trusting God during times of silence and uncertainty. So we want a blueprint, a step-by-step instruction manual for our businesses, for our next investment, or a difficult conversation we need to have. We want God to speak in a loud, clear, the heavens opening up. He's sitting down next to you, the angels a trumpet, giving us a GPS turn-by-turn direction. And if this happened, the backup plan, this is how we go about the backup plan. But that's not how God works. And let's be honest, sometimes it's just quiet. And in that silence, it can feel like God is distant, like he's far away from our struggles, from our prayers, from our business decisions. We just can feel like, man, God, where are you? I'm constantly praying, I'm constantly seeking you, but yet I hear nothing. Right? So, but the truth is, we need to anchor ourselves to the realization that God's silence does not equal his absence. So that's something that I am personally working on. Just because God is silent doesn't mean he's absent. And also another thing I had to think about, the teacher is silent during the test, right? So we have to cling to God's character. The Bible is our blueprint. Okay, we're looking for a blueprint. The Bible is our blueprint to God's character. And when we understand who God is, then we're able to trust in him, even when we're not getting a knock on the door or a dream or a prophetic word in our trying times, or when we need to make a major decision and we're praying and we haven't heard anything yet. We have to have faith in God's character that he will be there for us. So the Book of Esther is a powerful narrative about an orphan Jewish girl, right? So we all know about this quick little, Sunday school, Monday school, Tuesday school, depending on whenever you're listening to this. So essentially, Esther becomes queen, and the Jewish population was going to face complete and total annihilation. Okay. And in that time, no one could be summoned to the king unless the king had asked for him, right? So Esther was living in the palace, far removed from her people's crisis, and going through her daily queen activities, right? And when Mordecai told her about what was going on, that there was an order signed by the king to annihilate the Jews because he was tricked into that, the silence from heaven after the praying must have been deafening when she learned that, when she prayed and there was no response, right? So she had a decision. She was faced with a difficult decision. She was either going to stay safe in her palace, turn a blind eye, or she was going to remain silent in a position of power and watch her people struggle. So, as I said before in the beginning, Esther would risk her life going before King Xerxes, which is the king at the time, the one she married, to plead for her people. She would be risking her life. All right. So That was a Cliff Note version of Book of Esther. If you haven't read it, it's a good read. All right. So here is where the true test of faith occurs. Esther couldn't hear God, but she had to trust in what she knew about him, his character. She knew of the covenant God made with Abraham, and she knew God was faithful to Israel. All right. So, in this deep moment of uncertainty in the news that Mordecai presented to her, in the most powerful, and I mean it, guys, this is so powerful because I even think about it, this particular verse. And those of you might know what I'm leading up to, but the verse is Esther chapter 4, verse 14. Mordecai said this to Esther during a time when he was letting her know what was going on in the Jewish community. He said, "For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this." Oof. So, like, Mordecai wasn't giving Esther a direct command from God. He was appealing to a spiritual truth. God has a purpose, and he uses people that he prepares to fulfill it, right? For such a time as this. That ending of that verse, I don't know about you guys, but it gives me chills every time. I'm getting them now. Because for such a time as this, I repeat that portion of the verse a lot when I'm discouraged in the business, when I'm praying, when I want to make a business decision, when I want to, whether it's investing in a new class, whether it's investing for advertisement, or if it's for taking a leap of faith, for even going in this direction of the podcast, right? Sometimes it's nerve wracking and we can talk ourselves out of it, but I would combat those thoughts with something that says for such a time as this, because you never know what God is doing in your life to prepare you, right? So to tie that into something like business. So for example, in our bookkeeping, we want to know the exact formula to reach 7 figures. In our ministry, we want to know the perfect outreach strategy. But sometimes a lot of times, maybe 95% of the time, God only gives us a current circumstance and asks us to move in faith. So Esther didn't have a blueprint. She didn't know if the king would spare her. She didn't know the exact words to say. All she knew was that she was in a position of power and that God's people were in danger, and she had to cling to God's character as a deliverer and step out. And she did. She asked the Jews to pray and fast with her for 3 days, which is a profound act of faith in God when he was silent. And then she made the terrifying decision to walk into the king's inner court saying, "If I perish, I perish." So basically it is what it is. I'm going to make this stand for our people, and I'm just going to step out in faith. If I survive, I survive. If I don't, I don't, but I'm going to do something about it. Sometimes you just got to take that lead, right? So when you look at your life and business and you feel that oppressive quiet from God, just remember Esther, okay? Remember her story. Like, you might not hear a voice from God or anything, dream, prophecy, nudges, gut feeling, or anything. But do know that God is moving the pieces on the board. You might feel far from him, but he's closer than the next breath you take. The skills that you have, the network that you've built, the financial expertise that you have or you're building, it was cultivated for a reason. Maybe the difficult, client relationship you're navigating is for such a time as this. You know, you have it for bookkeeping. You have clients that don't provide you their information on time, or you have a client who tries to question everything, or you have a client who is mixing personal and business, finances, and it's hard for you to navigate through the bookkeeping, right? We do have clients that are like that. or, customers that who try to do their own bookkeeping and things of that nature. But then it's just like, okay, so during that time, you display grace and integrity of Christ by providing them the financial wisdom to give guidance and clarity on the best habits to do, or teaching people how to store their resources correctly to bless others, or you guys as business owners use your business resources, your products to be a blessing to others for such a time as this. All right. So God's promise is not a promise of clear cut and easy to read instruction. His promise is, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13, verse 5. Throw that little nugget out there. God will never leave us or forsake us. Okay. So our faith, I believe, is not meant to be dependent on his voice in the moment, but on his unchanging character throughout history. He is good, he is sovereign, and he is faithful. When you can't feel him, trust his word. When you can't hear him, lean on his character. Just like Esther, step out in faith with what you have, where you are. He is present, he is working, and he has placed you exactly where you are for such a time as this. All right? So now as we wrap up, I want to challenge you with this. Take a moment this week to reflect on the silent places in your life and your business. Write down 3 ways, okay, that you can choose to move in faith this week, even without a clear blueprint. Remember, God is not far, he is close, and he is working. Thank you so much, family, for joining me today. I pray that this message encourages you to trust the invisible hand of our God. And until next time, be blessed and be faithful. As we close out today's episode of Guiding Grace Bookkeeping, I truly pray that something resonated with your heart and brought you closer to financial clarity and peace. If you felt that connection, or if a specific insight sparked something within you, please consider taking a moment to leave us a review and subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more individuals like you. And if you know someone yearning for more grace and wisdom in their finances, be a blessing and share this episode with them. Remember, walking by faith and managing with grace can transform your entire world. Until next time, stay blessed, keep shining, and let's keep those books looking beautiful.